I've got some ideas of what to share, and I'd also love to hear from you what you feel that this space how it can be helpful for you, and how you would like to, what you would like to see this space becoming, how the space can be of service, BossTribe community. I could give a little introduction to what I feel the space can be in the next few weeks, and then I'd love to hear from you as well. So it was, in a way, a bold move for me to take on being luminary leader of BossTribe. And it's not because I see myself as having everything, got everything together in the area of money and business, but that it's an area I'm passionate about because I see the ways in which the transformation in this field can really impact so many areas of our lives. And I think particularly because I see how people that I work with are usually people that have had a spiritual awakening, whether they're therapists, yoga teachers, coaches, personal development facilitators, artists. They're people that have had a spiritual awakening, and often with that comes an ambivalence or an antagonism towards the subject of money, and I think not just money, but everything relating to power, actually, to power in the world. So there is a movement away from what perhaps before awakening seemed to be important. The materialism, the conventional idea of status. And so with spiritual awakening comes a kind of turning away from that. And so it creates some challenges around having a healthy relationship to money. And like I was saying, also a healthy relationship to power, because obviously having money gives us a type of power in the world, but we also may have mixed feelings about taking, let's say, positions of responsibility in the world. The spiritual awakening thing can leave us feeling like after awakening, we do our own thing, like a separate community, a separate field of activity and of existing kind of outside of the conventional. And so there can be this disconnect. And actually, I'd like to just share a little story that connects with all this. I have a teacher who he says that in this life he incarnated specifically to help to create a transition of power from the unawakened, let's say, to the spiritually awakened, because generation after generation the tendency has been for those who have a spiritual awakening to, as I was saying, they kind of turn their backs on society in a way to pursue their own spiritual deepening of their spiritual development. And that can be on a personal level or in the context of like a spiritual community, whether it's monks, nuns, hermits, but the turning away from society to pursue spirituality is a theme that's come up in different cultures just all across the centuries. Is that Jay or Carsten? Hello, Thrivers. So Jay, hi Jay. How are you doing, sister? So I was starting to tell this little story about a teacher of mine who says that in this lifetime he incarnated specifically to help to transition the power from the unawakened to the awakened, and that there is this tendency across the generations for power to be concentrated in the hands of those who are not spiritually sensitive, you could say, spiritually aware, and partly because material power is a kind of alternative, you could say, to the power of connectedness, the value of connectedness, of community. So if there is a sense of disconnect from spirit, then material power becomes that other way to try to compensate, in a way, from the disconnectedness, a sense of power and power over. So this this mission, as I see it, and as I was saying, Jay, at the beginning, I don't see myself as having all this resolved in my life, but I'm passionate about the potential there is for us to work together on resolving our relationship to both money and power. Because becoming empowered and becoming responsible within society, stepping up to, you could say, express influence, not exert influence over others as a way to take away people's autonomy, but as a way of expressing our clarity, our inspiration to co-create a world that has meaning to us. And so I see in as most of the community that I have been connected with, and my clients also are in the field of spirituality one way or another, there is this ongoing theme of not having quite enough, living on the limits of having enough, because having more than enough sounds like greediness. And there is this forgetting of the potential to have more than enough, to prosper, to thrive for the benefit of all. Because we don't really have many examples of this in the world. We have examples of power being used for greed. And so after spiritual awakening, there's this tendency to put power aside as this negative thing, to put money aside as this negative thing, and certainly the pursuit of money, the pursuit of success even. So re-signifying what is the power of success, of money, of how can influence be used in a way that is of service. So in this spirit, I have been learning over the last few years, a decade, I suppose, about marketing, and still seeing how difficult it is for me to apply it to my own work. I see how I can apply it to others, and I love doing that. And there's still this, for reasons that have become clearer over the years also, about why I have found it difficult to apply to my own work. And that awareness is also what I want to bring in to support others, realizing where the stuckness happens. And so as a group, Madalena, you'd like to say something? Sure.
Oh, no, sorry, Peter. That was an accident. Sorry.
All right. Okay. So let's see. I maybe would like to hear a little bit from you guys before I go on, so there's not too much of a monologue. I wanted to give a little context, but I also would really love to hear from you. What's been your journey in this area? Where do you want to get to? Where do you see us helping each other, and this platform, let's say this community of BossTribe, being a place of support? What's your vision? And then I'll share a little more.
Yeah, thank you for sharing such an intimate glimpse of where you are. For me, being an entrepreneurship and a business owner was the only way out that I could see myself being myself. So at a very young age, like just a little glimpse of where I am, from a very young age, I've been working and supporting myself through school. So I've done all kinds of jobs, from working in HR to a barista in a cafe to giving out pamphlets. Like I'm a like get it done kind of person. And through those experiences, I realized that I would definitely will not thrive in a 9-to-5 job. So my background is in design and advertising and photography. But after graduating from it and coming out of national service, in Singapore, I've got to serve 2.5 years of our prime time. And after coming out, you know, like most people will go into university and will get careers. But I was like, no, 9-to-5 job, I can't. And I was at my wit's end for a long time as to what I need to do. But I came into a place where entrepreneurship and owning my own business or doing my own thing was the only way. And I started out, you know, like thronging flea markets, selling my wares. I was very much into vintage clothes. And really, like, if you show me any old jeans from the early 90s, I could tell you which year it is and how much it costs now. But moving along, like, it grew from a place of customizing, teaching myself how to design clothes. Everything is all self-taught. And in between, I flew with SQ. I was a flight attendant for about 4 years. And between that, I was running my clothing vintage business. And I started a cafe, which is still running now, but I'm not like part of it. So the cafe is called Going Home. It's a cafe bar event space. After I left 6 years, I went back to what I knew best, which was product design. I just love it, clothings and stuff, and venture into accessories and secret tools and things like that. So like very, like I understand when you say that I do not know how to apply marketing to myself, but I like have all these crazy ideas about marketing for people, and it works for them, right? and I realized that a lot of the things that I found a barrier to entry with was coming from a stigma of a certain belief that prevented me from being comfortable and creating a safe space to execute that for myself as well. And I did a course, I can't remember her name, but it was on the belief systems of money, right? And through that course, I realized that I had this deep-seated belief that money is evil. And once I pointed that out, I was like, oh my God, like, yeah. And that's why whatever money came in, you know, like I didn't want to hang on to it. I had to like do something with it. And, you know, and I was like doing fundraisers. So in my bank account, it's like literally zit almost all the time, because whatever comes in, I'm like giving it out, you know, like, okay, let's do this. Let's do, you know, and when I brought that up to surface, that money is evil, and transmutated it, like I started to literally experience windfalls, you know. So I used to have a retail space that was selling my wares. I just sold it at the end of last year. And then I went into just concentrating on creating products, which is wholesaling them. And that transition literally freed me of my time to do more, which I found myself mentoring and coaching more, having more spaces and developing other people as well. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is also the emotional clearance of that beliefs, you know, that we sometimes don't really see, and work on that area really supported me. So yeah, I do not know how would that contribute and support you in pushing for BossTribe. But yeah, that's my experience so far. Being an entrepreneur,
Thanks for sharing, Omsira. Yeah, Yeah, it's so significant that I think many of us grow up with something like that. This idea that money, there are these very powerful phrases like money is the root of all evil. And I remember one of the biblical phrases is something like, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to get into heaven. This phrase. And I understand that phrase on a different level now than as when I was growing up, where it was very literal, like, okay, so rich people just can't get into heaven. They must be evil, they must be inherently selfish. Like that's the only way to accumulate wealth is being selfish. That's the only possible way. So I remember in my adolescence, that was pretty strong in my thinking, like looking at the world and thinking all power was about some negative, either people were being dishonest or they were just greedy, or a mix of both, And the idea of material success allied with service was something that it took a long time to really see the connection. And there's a quote that I'd like to share with you from, you may know this, from Zig Ziglar, who said, I think I'll get it right. You can have whatever you want if you help other people get what they want. It's such a simple way of expressing how if you are providing a valuable service, if you're providing value to others, then there is a natural outcome of income coming to you as a result of your gifting to others of value. But still, in the field of spirituality and alternative therapies, and this area that I've been involved in for the last decades, I often see people having a real challenge in valuing what they're offering. So there is a tendency to either charge the least possible, again, without thinking, any more than that would be greedy. And so it's like charging just enough to live on the edge. And I'm just seeing what Jay's sharing here, and it lamp lights as we offer it. Right. So Jay, what do you mean by that? Are you talking about like passing on like a lamp, lighting another lamp? Yeah. And so part of what I see this community working with is that area of realizing what our beliefs are, realizing what might still be under the surface, what is out of sync with our current understanding. In our current understanding, obviously we're here because thriving is meaningful to us, and so at the conscious level, we're putting aside limited thinking. But that doesn't mean that other aspects of, let's say, thought currents aren't still influencing our behavior, our choices. Bring to light the shadow aspects for healing. Right, exactly, Jay. So there's this aspect of exactly that, bringing to light the shadow aspects for healing, exactly. And also another aspect is actual resources, methods, strategies, if you like, for monetizing our gifts. And so I've been in the last, I mentioned in the last few years, I've been studying marketing practices, and I'm enrolled in a business coaching program to be a certified business coach. And so this is also a medium in which I can begin to apply in the community what I am learning, what I can, and supporting the community with this very practical approach to, if you like, ethical marketing and embodied business coaching. So that's what I'm wanting to share. And I don't know if today is the right time to go into real detail about how I see things taking shape. You know, giving like a structure of but maybe just opening the space. If I don't know, Jay, if you're able to share as well, you've been writing some messages. So yeah, that's thrilling to hear. Great, thank you.
I would love to say something. I just don't know how my connection is today. That's why my video's off. It's a little, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, so far, perfect.
Oh, good. Oh, good. No, this is honestly, I love all the tribes. I feel like they're all these like little Genesis buds of thriving awesomeness. But I have to be honest, there's something about BossTribe that gets me, it gets me so excited because I feel like, you know, entrepreneurship actually really has the power to change the world. Because when you heal all the stuff that we have around galvanizing the troops that are out there wanting a thriving world to get behind the business of change, then we can really sustain it. You know, it's not fleeting. It's something that can grow roots, and it can sustain not just one or three or five, it can sustain many. And I really see the need to replace the old models with the new models. And it's so incredibly thrilling. And when we have people like yourself who can come to the table and say, okay, you know, here's my skill sets. This is why I'm here. This is what I love. And it's not because you know it all, you know, it's because you're on the journey. And I actually think that that is so potent, because there's all these gurus out there that say, you know, this is how you do it. And for every guru, there's a different way.
Yeah.
And I think this is again where the separation occurs in the creation of conscious entrepreneurship, is there is no one way. And it really is such an intimate journey. But when we can both internalize and externalize the journey as a tribe, so that we can grow through our own blockages as we replace some of those old, you know, snakes in the grass and habits, with new ways of doing things. It's like we can't take off the training wheels until we start pedaling. And I find the problem is we try to heal the old, you know, wounds before we start pedaling. So if we can start pedaling and creating businesses and know what it looks like and feels like and tastes like and sounds like, because we really don't see it out there in the world very often. We don't have a reference point for it. And when we can begin to create that compass and that reference point and start paddling, well, then the old world, that proverbial foot I talked about yesterday, being in the older world, then we can start to lift off, you know, see the training wheels bust off. And the thing about entrepreneurship and doing it consciously and healing and using it as a method to create change is, once we get momentum and once we build speed, we're launching the entire armada. You know, we're not just launching one ship, because now we've created business in every aspect in all tribes from a conscious place of healing, both internally and externally. And now the armada is so strong that whatever debris and doubt is in the way now just becomes, you know, the ships just pummel over it. And now the momentum and the ability to do it together allows us the strength to move through our resistances that many of us have had for, you know, 10, 20, 30 years in the desire to create good business out there, because we're up against so much. And I love what you said, Peter, about we're up against sort of the old models of marketing and the old ways of doing things. And even people who claim to be conscious are still doing business, you know, in the old way, which is really very competitive. And so I look forward really mostly and more than anything to allow the infinite intelligence to come in and show us how to do this, because I don't think it actually exists yet. I actually think these new ways of building and creating business and using entrepreneurship as a vehicle for change, I think is the catalyst for probably the most powerful change accessible to us at the moment, and is in many ways the culmination of all the tribes. So Omsira influences it through Soul Tribe so that we can look at the business of change through a soulful perspective. Madalena brings in how can we set up the businesses so that we can maintain our sovereignty and our freedom. You know, we look at it, how can we create it so that it's sustainable and it's caring for the planet through the lens of Eco Tribe. And if we, it's another tribe where we can look at the business of change through all the lenses and all the perspectives. So I see this tribe absolutely exploding, and us putting all of our businesses under this umbrella as we meet the challenge with vigor, because now we can do it together and draw on each other's skill sets. So what skill sets Peter has, you know, we draw from, and what Omsira has, we draw from. And now instead of out there doing it on our own, which is a very difficult task, we're out there united and enabled to support each other to thrive in a way we never have before. So I wish I could turn on my video and really connect with you guys, but I just wanted to plant the seed and the genesis of how powerful this tribe is and how much I honor you and love you, Peter, in the short period of time that we've come to know one another. Your words are so potent and so powerful. And when you speak, I get shivers up and down my spine. So I just am so thrilled, Peter, and I adore you. And thank you for stepping forward with such a, you know, beautiful, brave heart to claim the space and say, okay, let's do this thing. And to do it now. I love that you just planted the flag and said, you know, we're going to do this. Here's the call. Let's go. And I appreciate that immensely. So I'm going to close out my little share there, but it's really good to be here. And Omsira, it's so good to have you, and Madalena. So I love that it's the four of us. It feels like a very solid pillar, a very solid table for the initial call.
Beautiful. Thank you, sister. And I really appreciate you and love you. And it's amazing what you are bringing into being, and partly through intentionality and partly through just being you, you know, the space that you create, the validation you give, the support, bringing out the best in everyone, you know, helping us to honor our potential. It's amazing and beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, so wonderful. I share that vision that you described, you know, that there is a tremendous potential in conscious entrepreneurship to be a paradigm, a new paradigm that changes everything. Because, yeah, just exploring that a little further. I mean, we can try through, you know, this is one way that I noticed the way we may be stuck in an old paradigm is where we think, we grow up thinking to be realistic, we have to get a regular, safe job. But we know you try to do it as best you can in your free time to do something meaningful, you know, maybe contribute to the world, do something meaningful with your free time. So people, you know, they do some volunteer work, they do some inspiring project in their free time, but with this unquestioned belief that the realistic, responsible, mature adult thing to do is to have a fixed, secure, regular job. And the fear of moving out of that, and like Omsira, you were saying, like that was just an impossible choice. Like you knew that was just not going to be an option. And but for many people, they're in that place where they're still stuck in that, and they know it's not going to feed their soul. They know that it's not going to be a place from which they can grow truly and experience full satisfaction, meaning in their life. But there's also a sense that it feels too much to step out into that unknown and to claim their power, let's say, to make money, to make an income, to thrive doing what they love. It sounds too idealistic. You know, that's what we've been brought up with, this idea that it's too idealistic to do what you love and for that to be enough, or for that to be even powerful and to lead to thriving. It's like in the Tantra programs that I teach, where I talk about our conditioning. This is something that I bring up around how, let's say, sacred cultures, if you like, sacred cultures have conscious transitions in their life path, in their maturing. Different phases of life are honored and celebrated, and the, let's say, civilization as we know it, like across many cultures, what it's become is, instead of honoring in a sacred way transitions into maturing out of childhood, what we've replaced that with is inducing a state of fear. Don't trust in life. Fear, and therefore plan and do the safe thing. That's our equivalent of the initiation into adulthood. It's like convincing people they need to do the safe thing and to give up their dreams. So that's like a culture-wide condition that we tend to see people in, is this state of having given up their dreams and associating dreams, their passions, their most intimate vision of what's possible as just like illusion, utopia, impossible. And so this is the power of community in shifting that, in recognizing we're not alone with powerful dreams. We're not alone with visions of a new world. And this even brings, it can seem out of context, but it brings to mind a story from the Buddha where one of the disciples asks the Buddha, what is the meaning? What's the significance of the Sangha, the community on the path? And the Buddha responds, the Sangha is the path. And that's such a powerful statement. The community itself is the path. The way I understand this in the context of Buddhism is that the conditioning we carry with us is so strong that if we don't have the support of others around us that are moving in the same direction, that are reaffirming our values, if instead we're embedded in a community, in an atmosphere that is in a way swimming in the other direction, it's going to be a constant struggle, a constant difficulty in being devoted to our truth, to being aligned with our truth. It's going to be a constant struggle. And so in this context also, in any context where conditioning is very strong, having a community that is nurturing our authenticity, and that is creating this wave of empowerment in all directions, it is so tremendously powerful what we're all doing.
Yeah, totally agree. Like I've been doing so much unpacking. I'm still doing it, and I think unpacking all these old paradigms, all these metrics that has been, forced onto us, it's going to be a constant thing. So I think some form of structure or modality that actually supports in the unpacking, so that we are able to feel more of the force that's within us, that it's okay to follow the dream as the main path instead of a side path, and it's an in process. And I definitely feel that having a community that supports everyone in that ongoing journey is just going to make that path easier as well. And I think also that focus should also, as much as we are a community, the work from the individual still needs to be done. It's not something that, it's okay, I have my community, I don't need to do any unpacking. There's no such thing. You have got to do your own work. You have got to do your own unpacking, and as much as you want to go around it and hack it, you can, but it's still going to be there if the work is not going to be there. So I think when that unpacking happens, you know, like there will be a lot of synchronicities as to how to collaborate and that quantum collaboration, right, Jay, and to create that feel of sacred commerce and sacred entrepreneurship, you know, and to have a glimpse of how that might look like.
Yeah, I love that. And it reminds me of a vision, you know, when you speak of sacred commerce, I think of how nature functions, how the interrelationships of an ecosystem function.
Precisely.
And if we look at humanity, it's like we are half awake, half alive, half matured as fruits, and in a healthy ecosystem, everything is responding to each other in tremendous sensitivity to the environment, and what I see as a healthy society is one in which we are rooted and centered to the extent that we become able to give fruit, to give this unique fruit that is our flavor of divine potential, our particular flavor of the creative force, of the creative intelligence. It's our contribution to the ecosystem. And while the society isn't fully gifting its fruit, while the individuals in society are kind of cut short, there is a sense of sickness, of dissatisfaction, of seeking for compensation for that in things that don't give us satisfaction. So there is a healing of society by through this empowerment. Just reading here what Jay wrote. We're practicing these principles now as we build a business of change. Thrive tribes. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
yeah.
To give you also my share of how sacred commerce, or the idea of it, has seeded in me, was that I first came across it when I was in the US in 2012, when I came across this cafe called Cafe Gratitude. And it was based in California, in San Francisco. I do not know if you.
I went there.
Huh?
I went there to Cafe Gratitude.
Yeah. And it occurred to me that although like there whatever trials and tribulations like they went through as well, like they went through a difficult time as well. But one of the key things that really spoke out to me was how all individuals in the facets of that business was honored, you know, and seen and celebrated, you know. And I think like the basis of sacred commerce is, instead of seeing commerce as an object, right, or something that's intangible, like I think commerce, it's about the person, you know, how the transactions occur between person and person. Because once that is honored, whether is it through appreciation or gratitude or honoring or that exchange, that foundation for exchange that needs to happen is already built up.
Yeah.
Which comes with that groundedness and that connection, and also mimicking nature, you know, the ecosystem of nature and its laws. And yeah, so I think a focus on the individuals, like for me, like when I got to know about Cafe Gratitude and I apply it to my cafe bar, in my own way, you know, like how we treat our suppliers, how we treat not just our customers, but you know, our neighbors, our staff, you know, like having that same care that's expanded into all these areas, like it shifted the way the business was being run as well. Like nobody wanted us to fail.
Yeah.
Every one of us wanted it to succeed. You know, it wasn't just coming from me, it was coming from the customers, it was coming from the suppliers, it was coming from our neighbors. And I guess that's why we are around, although we have got the close end of this year and due to whatever reasons, but we had a good run of 13 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, like to bring it, like, to me, sacred commerce is bringing it to a state where everyone wants, you know, things to succeed around everyone, you know, like is this like of like, oh yes, let's do, you know, and I think that what sparks the community as well and holds everyone together, you know. Yeah. Oh, I'm feeling so much like
Yeah, and what you just said reminds me also of a couple of months back. Blossom and I sent out this questionnaire to the luminary leaders, to the titans in the BizTribe global community, to get like an inventory of the talents, the passions, the values of the community, to get a sense of what are the strengths, what are the visions, and what are also the fragilities, if you like. What are the needs? In what areas do we need support? So in some cases, it might not be obvious. Like somebody has a talent that it's not what they're working on at this time. Maybe they've studied and they're an expert in that field, but it's part of their past now. But they could support someone else in that because they're the best at teaching it. And it's only when you create this, you know, and you explore this and to know what else other than what's happening in the person's life right now can we kind of get this inventory of resources that we have as a community so that we can support each other even more. I think that's such a powerful place to begin a project from, or to strengthen a project with, is this understanding. Not just like, okay, we've got to move forward and we just all kind of do the same thing, just as we have modeled here with the different sectors, the different tribes. We're putting our passion in where there's meaning to us, where we're able to, and it's such a powerful way, like that idea of the ecosystem, this natural ecosystem. You know, the power of tuning into that, because passion is not just like a dream energy. It's a motive force, and if we're drained because we're doing something that we're not passionate about, it's not sustainable. But if we're passionate about what we're doing, then it's contagious, and we can. You know, we can do miracles.
Absolutely.
So beautiful. I think maybe I'm happy for us to start closing the session for today, the call. Don't know if you'd like to share anything else. I have on these on Tuesdays, immediately following this call, I have a Tantra class, and if you feel called to join, you're very welcome. There's a course that began last week, and so you know, you can jump in, and but I have an hour maximum during these calls.
I would love to share just a little something. So I've been an entrepreneur out of necessity most of my life because, well, I thought initially it was because I didn't play well in this box with others. Because I had a very hard time listening to the way things needed to be done as were designed and created by others that didn't make sense or align with me. And so I was quite quickly and quite early on in my adventures, acutely aware of the fact that I'm not really someone designed to work for other people. And my father, who is my best friend in the world, is a phenomenal entrepreneur. And he's actually made millions and then lost it, and made millions and lost it. And I really had the pleasure of seeing him fail, which was, as it turned out, an incredible gift. And I also had the pleasure of watching how he did what he did without really, as a young girl, understanding, you know, just through osmosis, just by going everywhere and being with him everywhere he went. He was a wholesale distributor for the ski industry. So he wholesaled skis and boots and all sort of ski hardware and paraphernalia. And then he owned a retail store. And he had every role within the ski industry. And he built and created, you know, Canadian companies, European companies. He helped them go global. It was just amazing. And he would do things like, we would see a homeless man on the street. And as a young girl, you know, I think most parents, a lot of parents, there's some fear around homelessness. And so you would sort of just avoid it. And my dad would never give them money, but he'd say, hey, you want to go out for breakfast? You know, can we take you out for lunch? And so we would take them out for lunch and would hear their story. And it was such a gift to me because as a young girl, I started to recognize the story and how powerful it is that everyone has one. And external circumstances very rarely actually indicate the truth of a being. And so I got to see that some of these homeless people were actually some of the most brilliant people, just didn't fit. They didn't know how to make it work in the external world. And there was very little support for their unique ways of thinking and being. And so many mental institutions and so many highly medicated individuals are actually geniuses. And yet they don't have sort of the support or the skill set to be able to make it fruitful in the external world. And my dad used to go to bank tellers and he'd say to me, find the one that's the grumpiest. Who's the grumpiest? And I'd point to the grumpiest one. He'd say, that's the one we're going to. And he would make it his mission to tell her how beautiful she was, and not in like a creepy way, but just honoring her, you know, honoring that she's there in service to us and commenting on her pretty little earrings. And you'd see these just wilted flowers of women, you know, punching in the clock day in, day out with people being disgruntled and rude to them. And all of a sudden they'd flower open and blossom. And my dad, they'd be laughing and they'd be, oh, you know. And I remember when I was a kid being mildly irritated by it, thinking, Dad, you're such a flirt. He's like, no, this has nothing to do with flirting. Look at the transformation just by seeing someone, just by acknowledging them. And so many of those little things my dad did stuck with me over the years. But where I really saw magic with my dad was in how he had the patience to build incredible relationships. And he said, it's never about business. I have no interest in doing business with people I don't have relationships with. So he said, build the relationships first. Create the backbone of trust and respect. And then from there, anything is possible as you care for them and they care for you. And then you're unstoppable. And really beautiful gifts that my father gave me around entrepreneurship. But he now is watching what we're doing with BizTribe. And he's saying, it's all those years I wasn't sure if you were listening. He said, it's good to know that you were listening. And he's watching us just going, this is it. This is this quantum collaboration that allows us to move mountains and to just do it one person at a time, one conversation at a time, one BossTribe call at a time, one connection at a time. And we start now, here now we're three, the Trinity together, but here now we care for each other. And then as we care and build our relationship, we just are able to extend that to others as they come into the space. And I can see past Peter, that you're a master relationship builder. You really are. I've seen now your relationships and people are very loyal to you. You know, Madalena, Arena, Pedro, who am I missing? Right.
Antonio. Yeah.
Antonio, right? Like they really are like, we're with Peter, you know, like he's our guy, and they have so much trust for you. So I think that this was probably, I can't imagine a better, more potent, sweet, connected call. And I am going to hop on the Tantra call for a bit, if I may, if you can send me the link, I would love to.
Yeah.
And it's good. Omsira, we'll connect very briefly afterwards if you have time. And then is Peter, I guess, can I come in a couple minutes late or no?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you, sister. Beautiful to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you very
See you in a
much.
few minutes. Bye. Love to you all. Ciao, Omsira.
Ciao. See you. Have a great session.
Thanks. Big hug to you.
Big hug to you too.